Good morning.
Good morning.
So today is the final Sunday in our Lenten journey. We have been exploring the spiritual practice of community and submission. And I have to say that I love spiritual practices, but this one was particularly close to my heart in many ways because community has been one of the biggest themes in my whole spiritual walk. In seeking community and trying to build community and trying to understand what makes for a community. And so I pray that it has been also meaningful and fruitful for you. And as we stand here on the eve of this last Sunday in the Lenten journey, I am praying and I am hoping that together we will continue to integrate, right, and continue to make meaning of what these last 5 Sundays have been about. So that truly as we enter into this new season of resurrection that we're on the eve of, we might begin to be attentive to living into being a resurrected community. So this morning I want to especially welcome Charlie and Ben. And I wanted to say a few words about them because I don't know if you all know that in the English Ministries Council, we have an area of ministry called Invitation and Witness. Can you raise your hand if you knew this? Charlie raises his hand, of course. Invitation and Witness. And that whole ministry focus and call is actually to, in some sense, do what the title of the sermon is about, to seek out being welcoming, and particularly to welcome the stranger amongst us, right? And to figure out how we go about really practicing that with meaning and gusto. And so that's one thing I want to share with you. And Ben has been sort of anchoring that ministry from some years now, actually the whole time that I have been here at CCOMC. And I think in part it's because he brought a vision and technical know-how about new ways to reach people, right? Through our website and considering all kinds of web tools. This past year, as the English Ministry Council was talking about the new year and serving in new ways, a conversation developed about maybe swapping places amongst our leaders and trying on a new area of ministry or inviting new folks to be a part of it. And Charlie responded. And Charlie, for you who know, has been anchoring the ministry area of congregational nurture and development for the whole time I've been here also. Is that right, Charlie? I think that's true. Yes. And has been so faithful in that way. And as a call, actually, as I heard it as a call to respond to God's nudgings, decided to join forces with men in invitation and witness. And so I wanted to celebrate this new partnership in ministry in Charlie and Ben, and it felt particularly appropriate because of this particular aspect of community to invite them to share a word and allow them an opportunity to work together in doing that, but also to celebrate the ways in which we are called by God and then respond. So I invite and welcome Charlie and Ben. Yay.
The roles that we had on the English ministries, but that got spoiled. We're going to do it anyways, just to reinforce it. But before we do that, I wanted to open with a responsive song that we did actually for ushering the Let's do it with welcoming. So this is a repeat after me song, okay? So it goes like this. Come, let us worship God.
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 Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, everyone,
To the love of God.
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 Okay, yeah, so we did that Usher Readers training, actually. So here's the quiz. Okay, so Charlie and I are on English Ministries, right? So, what was the work area that I was working in? I still am. Starts with I'll give you a hint. We call it I and W. Invitation and witness. Okay? So anyways, invitation and witness, for a lot of that time was dealing with ushers and greeters. And by the way, how many people are here are ushers and greeters? Yes. All right. As a posse. Okay. And today our ushers, who's ushers back there? Is
And Vincent is helping. Junior usher.
in training. See, we started again. So, anyways, the thing about welcoming is that ushers and greeters are often thought of as, oh, they're the ones who do welcome. So they stand in the back. See, they're back there doing a great job. But one thing we talked about at usher and greeter training was that it's actually an all-play activity. Okay, so we're going to talk about that more later. But anyways, another thing about ushers and greeters and invitation and witness is that I've been kind of doing in the background, like I was saying with the web stuff and some of the banners and signage, and I haven't really been out there in the forefront, welcoming, is actually interacting with people. So I'm really glad that Charlie's joining me on this, because he's a super energetic guy. So he's going to put them together with
At least say so.
the super team. So, and then we'll be calling on you for that. But anyways, we'll talk about a little bit more about IW later on today.
Well, since Pastor already went through the introduction, I want to mention that being associated with the nurturing and the learning or nurturing and development area in the congregation, that after a while, kind of start to realize that learn that faith comes not just from knowing about God, but also importantly the actions. So following, working, practicing a faithful living, that's really where it needs to be focused on as well. So here, that's really mainly the reason why I like to work with Ryan.
Well, I totally appreciate it, because I need all the help I can get to. So, and again, to repeat, one of the overarching themes of invitation and witness is welcoming. At least that's what we did here at the local church. And so that fits right in, of course, with today's topic, welcoming the stranger. And particularly, INW was focused on you might even think of it as the people who haven't even visited the church yet are finding out about the church. What does our church look like? And then not only that, the first visit that people make to the church, how do we receive them, right? What does that look like? Because I've been here for a long time, so it's sometimes hard to imagine what it's like for a stranger to come into our midst. How do we welcome them? So that's kind of what the overarching goal of invitation is as well.
So when we look at today's scripture, it talks about feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, visiting people in prison, tending to the sick. It almost seems like those things are really more of what we would call missions. So, which is another area in our kind of like focus. Instead of INW. So what's the difference?
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because when you're reading the scripture, we talk about hungry, the naked, and visiting people in prison, and normally you wouldn't think of that as invitation, witness, or welcoming. And so I just think of that as sort of missions. So what is welcoming? Actually, do I have this up here? Oh, there we go. So in the scripture, I was a stranger and welcoming. So how's that different than all those other things? I'm not I'm not a biblical scholar or anything like that, so of course I have to go to the interwebs like everyone else. And so when I looked it up, what was this scripture talking about? It seems like it's actually talking about welcoming the immigrants, right? Welcoming people who are kind of like aliens, people who are not really fitting in. And I think that appeals to, or I think Jesus is appealing to the fact that the Israelites were strangers when they were in Egypt. So that they ought to know what it's like to be kind of a different person and being the guy that's left out and everyone's looking at them and going, okay, you don't belong here, or we're not going to pay any attention to you. You guys are some other people. Right? You don't belong here. Go back to where you came from, something like that. So, so for example, this is also from the next churches, right? So you find verses like this in Deuteronomy, right? Deuteronomy is one of the old writings, long writings. So you should also love the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. So that kind of sets the stage for saying, hey, but you were the strangers, right? So you know what it's like, and you see the need to be welcomed. So and it's really easy for us to say, oh, it's very easy for us to be welcoming and friendly to each other. But when someone else walks in and they're different, and maybe they might speak their language or from a totally different class or have a different family background, it's not so easy. It's not so easy to be welcoming to them. And even beyond, like the scripture was saying about the food, shelter, clothing, feeding the sick, at least for me, I find it's often easy to minister to people's physical needs and just go, okay, well, your problem solved. But actually welcoming goes beyond that, right? As we're trying to form a relationship with someone, we're actually caring about them. That's because they don't just need food, they also need to belong, right? Because they're here and they don't feel like just left out and ignored.
Well, I think for a lot of us who've been here or who are older, I think we can relate to that. A lot of us maybe are from families that immigrated from overseas. Show hands, anybody who's related to somebody who came from overseas?
There you go.
Well, those of you who didn't raise your hands, we're out of the country known as the country of immigrants, right? Okay. Okay. So anyway, many of us, I think, really did, kind of experience that and do kind of know a little bit of what it means to be part of the immigrant family.
It's interesting you mentioned that because as far as immigrants immigrating to the Bay Area, I happened to see a video this past week. I think it was using missions. I get all email lists, So it was published at the conference. It had to do with Chinese immigrants being welcomed to UMC. How many people have heard of Catherine Maurer, the Angel Island? I know some of you must have known that. She was a Methodist woman 100 years ago who welcomed Chinese immigrants into the Bay Area. So I want to show you this video.
Catherine Maurer, the images that we have, she's smiling.
For 40 years, her smiling face was a sight of comfort for thousands of immigrants facing uncertainty and sometimes hostility in a new world. Methodist deaconess Catherine Maurer, an immigrant herself from Canada and the youngest of 9 children, devoted herself daily to those stepping off the boat at the port of San Francisco.
She's in the middle of this noisy place with new people coming and going and arriving to the U.S., and she is just happy and content.
Starting in 1912, Maurer rode the ferry daily to the Angel Island Immigration Center, where she served as a social worker, primarily for Chinese women and children. The deaconess taught English, helped detainees write letters, and advocated on their behalf.
It was not at all uncommon for single women, or maybe women with just children, to be traveling to the U.S. And they could encounter all sorts of problems once they got there and before they got through the whole immigration process.
Some newcomers were detained for months or even years. Maurer made sure their medical and basic needs were being met, but also sought to raise spirits, bringing dolls to the children and hosting Christmas parties. For her devotion, a San Francisco newspaper dubbed her the Angel of Angel Island. She set the standard for United Methodist Women.
Greeting people on the dock was one of the ways that the women of the church were able to receive people and connect them to a place of safety.
Maurer in California and Alma Matthews at Ellis Island in New York were among the deaconesses appointed by the Woman's Home Missionary Society of the Methodist Episcopal Church to welcome immigrants.
You meet Catherine Maurer, or at some other port of entry, another woman, and they're there to help you. They're there to offer you skills. These people would say, not only can you stay for a while, but it might have been house cleaning, it might have been any number of small types of jobs, but they assisted that way.
Historians at the United Methodist General Commission on Archives and History sometimes hear from families researching genealogy and seeking information about the smiling woman who welcomed their parents and grandparents to the New World and did it with love.
For her, I would think she's found the perfect job. Standing at the door of our country, welcoming, saying hi.
Really know much about her. I think a lot of us older ones here probably know about some of the work that Pastor Edward Lee did in the early days. But this is back in 1912, maybe earlier. So it's really, truly living out Jesus' call to welcome the stranger, welcome the immigrant to our lives.
Yeah, and there's actually more stuff from the U.S. Right? More other scriptures that talk about welcoming immigrants. Right? The alien who reside with you shall also be the citizen among you, shall love the alien as yourself, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. So here it is again, the Lord your God. So, and you know, talking about immigrants, there's that situation that's going on right now with Syria. I remember you did this TED talk about it, or it was like the UN guy who was talking about that. And how, and he was saying, you know, the world needs to be more open to receiving these refugees. And so, and something is happening right now. I ran across another video actually that talked about how the UMC in Germany has been receiving Syrian refugees. So this is kind of a neat thing, because we talked about how Maurer was doing 100 years ago. The UMC is doing it again today.
In the moment we are undergoing an exciting time here in Germany with having many people from all over the world, particularly people from the Middle East who come as refugees to find a place of hope. And we are engaged to receive them in a Christian manner and in a manner that it's according to our European standards of human rights.
There is bomb. And I'm afraid our children, because it's little and they cannot go to school, cannot do learning. I'm afraid in our future. So I'm coming here to give him good learning, good living.
We want a good life. For that reason we came here. Yeah, we don't want to join the war, and we don't want to kill anybody. I came here because I don't want to go to army. They sent me so many times. 7 times they sent for me to join them, but I didn't want. Because I don't know for whom I'm gonna fight, for whom I'm gonna kill, and who gonna kill me. I don't know.
It's really a situation where we have to live into a new reality, to reach out to people who are differently in many ways. I see this as a big chance for us, because the situation of the kingdom of God is not that homogeneous people meet, but that bridges are built and people of all nations, all colors, all different situations together are welcomed at God's table.
I'm happy. Mostly, I'm happy. Yeah. Because here is safe. Here, I don't think what will be do it tomorrow. Yeah. Here is happy with my family, and I'm happy. People is good. People like you, smiling, laughing. So we are happy.
And we are in a big learning experience, and I am grateful for all people who see the learning possibilities and to trust that God, through the Holy Spirit, is the teacher for all of us as we live into a new future together.
So we see a lot of the same verses that Ben was showing us earlier, as well as seeing the work that's happening in Germany and seeing how they are welcoming the stranger. Maybe for those of us who constantly get bombarded by news that paints the immigrants as being terrorists, this is another view of seeing real life faces of people seeking peace.
Yeah, praise God for Germany and receiving immigrants. 'Cause I know, at least I'm not aware of a huge inflow into the U.S. at least, or in this area, but in Europe apparently it's happening all over the place. So, and the thing is, because it does seem quite like a faraway place, and you say, oh well, Syria, maybe that doesn't really happen here, but there are immigrants among us all over the place in the area. You know, this is a place. This is a probably a stopping off point. I mean, particularly here in Chinatown. And what came to mind was the work that Reverend Debbie Lee's doing. You know, she was right across the street with welcoming immigrants in the Bay Area. People who live in Oakland, and I think they're the strangers that's being referred to in the passage that Jesus is talking about welcoming the stranger. I actually do. You guys remember that when Pastor Debbie came to visit and she brought the two? Remember Daniel and Daniel? Remember Daniel? Okay.
Big height difference.
Yeah. This Daniel, he's the one that's from Guatemala, and he's in the Bay Area. He's undocumented, and he's just trying to get a foothold. And I guess Debbie's reached out to him to try to help him get connected and get some help and have an accompaniment team. And did you know that after she gave that message, she puts out the call to who would like to be on a team to accompany Daniel, and we actually have a team, right? You guys know that? Who's on the team? Who's on the team? Okay, it's Becky, Ari, Jacinto. Yeah. All right, and I'm sort of like as a member of the team. So Daniel, he's trying to finish high school and go to college, and so he can become just a contributing member in the community. And he doesn't know English, right? He's still learning English, and he's trying to get through immigration so he can become completely legal. And he has no family. He doesn't have anyone back at home, and he doesn't really have anyone here. So to me, he's really fits the description of the strangers that's being talked about.
Yeah, scripture. Yeah. It's really great that we have a team in our own community welcoming to Daniel. It sounds like that's exactly what Jesus is talking about when he says, welcome the stranger. So let's not forget that the part of the verse where it says, when you welcome a stranger, you have done it to me. So in line with Palm Sunday, that's when we welcome the stranger, we welcome the Christ.
Absolutely. And actually that was part of the message. And you remember that message that actually was the big Daniel did the preaching that Sunday. And he talked about the walk to Emmaus, and come to think of it, you know, the story of the walk to Emmaus is an accompanying of strangers, although perhaps even in a literal way, right? By accompanying the stranger, we say, oh, we see Christ in the stranger because we did it to me. In that case, Jesus really was the stranger, and when they walked with him, he ended up being Christ to them. Anyways, another thing that was mentioned in Daniel's preaching was the five-figure gospel, right? You guys remember? You guys remember what that is? Okay, so you guys don't remember. Okay, so we're gonna do it. So check this out. See if my picture is here. Okay. So the five-figure gospel is you did it unto me. I just say you did it to me. It depends on which version. So you did it to me. So that's what he said earlier. So you did it to me. So easy. Going one more time. You did it to me. Hey, so if anyone asks you, what's the gospel? You can go, oh yeah, you did it to me. So that it was easy for me to remember, and it meshes with today's sermon, which is welcoming the strangers. That's one of those things, along with the feeding and the visiting and the healing. That's you did it to me. So there it is, the gospel. Welcoming the strangers, one of the ways you can do the gospel. And as far as the accompanying team goes, we actually met with him last night. That's how I kind of got pulled off. So last night we met with him and found out his situation, and there's all sorts of ways you can help. Like we found out he's looking for a laptop. So if anyone has a laptop they want to donate, he's looking for a laptop.
Well, speaking of donations, Pastor also mentioned about the welcoming kits. Anybody, I imagine pretty much everybody here has participated. Now I guess there's still a little bit of opportunity.
And it's not too late.
Yeah,
not too late.
With your cash.
See all this stuff back here behind the screen? Can you see behind? So there's all this stuff is being collected for the welcome kits, and so it's still open, and there's still stuff to buy. And even if you don't, for those of you who weren't here earlier, remember we're assembling the kits on Friday after the Good Friday worship. So everyone's got to come to the Good Friday worship 2 p.m. on Friday, and then after that we're assembling the kits, and that's in conjunction with the other churches who are participating in the so-called the union worship, or the combined worship for the community. So that's another way. See, if you're not so good at doing the gospel and you say, how do I do this five-finger thing? So you can come to the worship and stay after, assemble the kids. See, then you can do. That's part of welcoming, right? Now, let's see. Okay, so I lost my place.
No. So we're talking about welcoming as strangers to our community. And sort of back to today's scripture, when I read today's scripture, it made me think about Pastor Sun's story back quite a few weeks ago about the monks and the abbot. Anybody remember that story? Anybody Anybody else want to summarize? Anybody remember what was in the story? It was entitled Rabbi's Gift.
No.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else remember anything about it? How many people were in the story? There was the rabbi, then there was abbot, and 4 monks.
And they're all really old.
And they were all really old. And so the title is Gift of the Rabbi. So what was the gift? Remember what was the gift? So the story was that after listening and crying together with the abbot, the rabbi told him at the end, before he left, that, you remember?
Tell us, child.
One of you is
The Messiah is one of you.
So you're thinking that welcoming the stranger was just like welcoming Christ, and so that in our community we ought to get used to seeing Christ in each person, right? In each person, Each person sitting in this room, each person who comes to the door is a stranger.
Yeah, so I think that the series in talking about community is really just making us truly what witnesses the love of Jesus. And by seeing the other person as Christ, it allows us to naturally reflect the love of God that in today's scripture is trying to encourage us to do. And sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but to me, when we are told kind of like to do the missions thing, it's almost kind of like feeding the hungry, clothing the poor, and visiting the prisoners. Unless our hearts is right, I mean, to me, it maybe comes across as maybe patronizing.
You're saying it's going beyond that,
Yeah, and need something to kind of maybe change our heart to reflect what is really the love of God, rather than just kind of like doing things because, we're told to do the right thing.
and maybe I can fix someone else's problem, right? I fix the situation, can I go somewhere else? And then is that really full welcoming? Is that welcoming someone to belong? So, I mean, that's hard for me too, because it's really easy to do the impersonal stuff, like just buy things and go, I fed someone, and then, we're done. We used to go to the city team, right, feed people, say, that's nice, and that was it, once every 3 months or something, right, every 5th Sunday. So, it's more than being a helping hand, it's forming the relationship, and seeing that people are actually valuable parts of our community, and not just people we tend to, but they're important for us.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, that brings to mind, Pastor Emily told us how she invited Matthew and Iris into worship, and they were right in front of us. I've seen them around the church too during the English service, and especially when I come in late and wander around. I noticed that all they needed was really just someone to invite them to come in, and she did it in a respectful way. Even knowing she's right. She didn't come to say, come to worship now. Or she didn't say, you shouldn't be loitering around the church. So.
Yeah, I mean, Vincent too, right back there. So he's already part of worship, right? He was just hanging around. They're just ready to learn, right? Ready to be welcomed in. And somehow, I don't know, me included, I didn't notice. So thank you guys for doing the invitation. And now he's a great camera person too. See, we got 2 Vincents on camera.
Yeah, it's not just the children and maybe the youth, and we need to kind of really turn the welcoming into building relationship, which is what the message is on community is all about. And also maybe even the Chinese-speaking congregation as well, right? A lot of us are afraid of talking to people in the other side because we're afraid that we don't know enough Chinese. I for one maybe just been hesitating to wait for somebody who I'm comfortable with in order to kind of give my best welcome. Years ago, we had a visioning survey that found that we were really ready to welcome people who were just like us, but younger. So I think, it's been years, so are we ready now to move beyond that? Or, take another look and build relationships with people that are maybe just right in front of us?
Yeah, actually come to think of that. Yeah, I was part of that group, and so I was thinking, what were we thinking back then, right? It doesn't make any sense, especially with this welcoming the stranger, right? It's like we're totally ignoring it. So, lately I've been trying to hang out with the youth, we're the snowdrift, right? It's probably because I kind of feel young, sort of, right? Relatively speaking. So, we have these monthly dinners, we go to Emily's, it's really fun to hang out. And even yesterday we had this homework club. So, I don't have no homework, but I can do the hangout part. So anyways, So there's opportunities there. If you want to build relationships, I mean, with the youth, there, just come on over. Not everybody at one time, but yeah, if you want to come on and hang out, just you know, sit down with them at the fellowship table, or you know, come to dinner one time. You get to see the babies, or hang out at the homework club. I mean, at the homework hangout on Saturday.
So I guess, you know, welcoming strangers might be kind of a hard thing, but we're a community to practice with, so to speak. And kind of brings back to the book that Stephen led a study on in adult education, The Most Loving Place in Town. Maybe this will be a good step toward that direction. When people come to CCMC, when they find something that looks like a community, that gets along and care about each other, or find that would really, I think, be a witness to what we really mean in the church. And instead of looking at, you know, kind of like a bunch of strangers, a bunch of people in a church that acts like strangers to one another. So again, thinking about the Lynn story, and about the monk's story, and the rest of the other sermons during the Lent, which covers being a body of Christ, submitting each other and showing respect even when we think we're right. I think those are practices that we need to continue to.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this. So you're saying, like, in order to build up towards being welcoming the total stranger, we can just practice. We can start right here, by doing more complete welcoming for folks in our own community. I mean, we think that's pretty easy, right? Because we know these people, like the kids that we're hanging around, and that we need to be right. We're in that story with the monks and the abbot. We're still learning to see Christ in each other. So that's good. We start with that.
Yeah, listening, and that was the other thing too. I think, you know, we might maybe think of the rabbi's gift to the abbot was the idea of seeing Christ in one another, but also I think the part of the story was to emphasize that he and the abbot were talking, and he was listening very intently, very faithfully to what he had to say.
I'm not so good at that either. I'm getting better. You know, a couple years ago, I did this compassionate listening workshop, and it's kind of a way to show empathy with someone. So I'm still working on that. That helps to build a relationship, right? That's how you can be welcoming, rather than just here, do your stuff. Listen to someone.
Thanks to Ben. We have all those sermons on the internet and YouTube, and we can go back, and I for one will go back and look at them once again.
Well, before you go to your computer and watch all the things all over again, right? So we actually have an opportunity to do welcoming today, right? Today, because we have this Easter party, we're going to be welcoming. I would say call them strangers, right? People who I don't know very well, and perhaps they're very different from me, and they're seeing Christ in them.
Yeah, we have around the next hour or so. You know, a lot of times I wonder how can we welcome the Homewood Club folks who are generally strangers to me when there's maybe even a language barrier. How can I accompany them? How can I be Christ in them? How can I see Christ in them?
Yeah, and that's hard for me too, because I find myself running around just kind of doing busy work, right? There's this temptation to go hide in the kitchen. That's the big one, is the gravity. It must be a gravitational pull in the kitchen. So it's just try to escape that and say, okay, how can I be more welcoming to homeless club families and kids? And Charlie was reminding me actually of this, the suggestion from Pastor in a previous sermon about this person is so different from me. How do I show this person love? You remember this? I didn't even remember this. Right? How do I show this person more love? That's almost like a little prayer that we can do. And then once that changes our perspective, then maybe we'll know what actions to take. Right?
Yeah, that sounds like a good thing to remember. Yeah, it's good.
So, I don't know, are you guys ready to do that? Is this easy enough for you? You know, so while the party's going on, you can just remember, you can be praying, how do I show this person more love? Maybe you can allow God to speak to you, speak through you, and then know how to respond.
Maybe that would be our prayer. How do I show this person more love?
All right, well, that's going to conclude our talk. I know we went way over. So can we sing? Oh, I want to sing that welcome song one more time, okay? So, come, let us worship God.
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 Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, everyone.
To the love of God.
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 Amen.
Can we give some spirit fingers to Charlie? Really tied together so many pieces from this last Lenten journey and beyond, and challenged us and encouraged us to be doers, not mere hearers of the word. And so we continue to give thanks for them and their leadership and pray for them in the coming year as they step into this new partnership in INW. And I want to emphasize again the opportunity to immediately put into play what we hear, right? There is no better time than now to act on what we know and learn and are called to. So would you stand? Here's another opportunity to do the same. Would you stand